What's going on, team? Welcome back along to the channel where today it is time for the Super Rugby semi-final preview show. Now, we've got a pretty special one lined up for you guys this week. We've got a host of guests giving their thoughts on what they think is going to happen this weekend for the big two matches. Just two matches, 4 teams remain, so let's get stuck into it this week. We'll meet the guests in just a second, but first, let's get things in order. SuperBru leaderboard with 3 matches left in the season, 2 semi-finals, and of course, the big dance, the grand final, which will be next weekend. Who will be there? Well, we'll talk a little bit about who we think will make it in a second. But Super leaderboards, let's have a look at how that sits right now. And you can see on the table, it has been an epic display in the quarterfinals by one man that has really mixed his whole table up. 3 crowns won, picking up the yellow cap. Well done, sir. Yellow cap for 3 crowns won, and he goes straight to number 1 position. Poor old Jack, who's been there all season long almost, has fallen down to 2nd. The battle for the top 3 is absolutely intense, with Nate's jumping up a couple of spots as well into 3rd. And he is a tough battle as well, with Waka Saduadua racing up that leaderboard, and he is only 0.16 of a point away from Nate's in 3rd. These last 3 games are going to be massive in deciding who will take out this season's Predictor League. Of course, 3 crowns won, we've talked about already. He's got over a 2-point lead now over Jack, who really surrendered a lot of points in those quarterfinal matches. So the whole table has taken a big shift just to show you that it's not over until it's over. How my pick's going, you may say? Well, I'm happy to report that I have rocketed up 1 spot over the quarterfinals. Yes, up to 14th, which I'm more than pleased with how we are going. It's been a great season for me. I've spent a lot of time near the top, and I'm absolutely ecstatic to still be there inside that top 15 places with just the semis and the finals still to go. I do, however, have some pretty hot competition from one man, that is the DrivingMaul. He is in 17th, and he moved up an impressive 3 spots over the quarterfinals and sits, just 1.5 points behind me. So, really, I need a big semi-final. I need to nail some margins because Paul nailed a margin in the quarterfinals, which really boosted him up. The rest of us, though, not so lucky. Who else have note have we got to talk about as well? Taz, wow, making a late resurgence up the leaderboard as well. He sits now in 29th position, up 8, but still a long way from troubling those top spots in the competition. Further on down, Heartseer 7 has picked up the wooden spoon and dropped a mighty 16 spots over the quarterfinals. Further down, we got Brett Hartley, who's had a bit of a mare in the quarters, going down 8, and he's down into the mid-40 positions now. Not the best finish there for Brett. Now, what else we got left? Where is Mr. Ryan Nixon? And we see him down here in 62nd, down another spot. I mean, he doesn't even have the Blues to blame anymore. So Ryan not having the best of seasons at all, down in 62nd. You can have all the pro advice you want, but it still doesn't help you when it comes to Super Rugby predictions, does it? That is the leaderboard, though, for SuperBru. We've got 2 rounds still to go, 3 matches in total. It could all still change so much. But as we stand right now, 3 crowns won, going into the semi-finals, has a tidy 2.25 point lead over Jack. We've, of course, got our battle with the DrivingMaul. That will be very interesting to see how we go. But before we go too deep into how that's going to go, let's introduce you guys to the guests for today's episode. And we've got the 3 of them coming in from all over the globe as well. So settle in, get yourself comfortable for our thoughts on the semi-finals. So joining me will be, of course, Paul. The man we've already talked about from the DrivingMaul. He'll have our first thoughts on these matches this weekend. Of course, we've got another man from the Northern Hemisphere. Again, he led the Predictor lead after a few rounds, and he fell a long way down, but has returned with a vengeance, and that is Taz, who will be coming back on to give his thoughts on the semi-finals. And then finally, we say it as well, Brett Hartley is back, and he's going to be giving us his thoughts on the semi-finals, and maybe if we're lucky, he might give us his thoughts on the whole season as a whole. Of course, a Sharks fan, he's got nothing to celebrate anymore because his team is out of here. Knocked out by the Brumbies in the quarterfinals, so he is really in neutral now as the competition goes to the real pointy end of the season. So let's not mess about any further. Let's move swiftly on and have a look at what the guys think about this weekend's semi-finals. So first things first will be Saturday morning New Zealand time or Friday night in Argentina. It is the Jaguares versus the Brumbies. Of course, it is the best finish ever for a Jaguares side. They've made it to the top 4, and they'll be hoping to make it to those last 2. If ever there's a season they're going to do it, it is 2019. They've had an outstanding season so far, and they have still a bit to prove. You look through recent history from these two sides, they've only played 3 times, and it's the Jaguares who have won 2 of those, and the Brumbies just the 1. And that was in 2017, their first meeting, that the Brumbies took that position. But since then, in 2018, and of course this year, back in April, the Jaguares have been the victors on both occasions as well. It has been by 5 points. 25-20 in 2018 season, and of course this year it was 20-15. The Brumbies, though, not got the best coming into that against their opponents. How do the guys see them going? Well, we'll go with first to Paul from the DrivingMaul, and then we'll follow up with Taz and Brett Hartley after that to give their thoughts on this matchup. Who's it going to be to make the final? Jaguares versus Brumbies.
So, Jaguares versus the Brumbies, yes, that's going to be a cracker, isn't it? First ever semi-final in South America, which is going to be kind of cool. The Brumbies obviously got a big trip ahead of them, sort of drive up to Sydney, then on an aeroplane to Auckland, then another flight to Buenos Aires. It's just crazy travel. Yeah, so bus to Sydney, no, that's good. So that's the they got a big old trip over there, whereas the Jaguares are going to be at home. Decent record at home for Jaguares as well. Only those couple of losses, I think it was to the Lions and the Chiefs, and obviously they avenged the Chiefs last weekend, so it's looking good for them. Brumbies, it's can they contain those really exciting backs of the Jaguares? I mean, those back 3 are dangerous, and I think that's where they're going to get most of their joy. For the Brumbies, though, obviously that line is going to be try and get as many scrums as possible, because they're going to pick up penalties there, and then they can kick to the corner. So if the Jaguares drop the ball, knock the ball on, it's going to be a long night for them. Otherwise, I think the Jaguares should take it. Jaguares by 5.
Let's start off quickly with game number 1. Jags v the Brumbies. 2 brilliant packs, light forward play. So it's going to be a ding dong in the main defence. But I reckon if the Brumbies can keep them quiet, the crowd quiet, keep the packs quiet, I reckon the Brumbies will give Christian Luafanu's farewell season a high one. Go all the way to the final. I pick them, give them a win by 5.
What's going on, guys? I'm back after a huge hiatus from this channel. I think round 2, round 3 was the last time I was on here. So sorry for my absence, I guess. Steve just asked me to quickly put a few thoughts together for these 2 games. So we start off with the first game of the weekend, the Jags and the Brumbies. This game's a little bit too close to home because I expected my Sharks to be on here. But they weren't. They had a really dismal performance up in Canberra. And the Brumbies, although the scoreline probably didn't do the game justice, the Brumbies pretty easily put away the Sharks. A very lackluster Sharks in my opinion, and hopefully getting a little bit off track, but hopefully that will be Robert Dupree's last game as our coach, but fingers crossed for that. Anyway, getting actually on topic is why I'm here to talk to you. Jags vs Brumbies in Argentina. This is probably, in my opinion, a relatively easy game to pick. The Jags have been awesome this season, really awesome team to watch. Very physically dominant team, and they really showed that against the Chiefs. And you saw that emotion pour out after that really good performance last week in that quarterfinal. And they truly deserve to be here, and they definitely are one of the teams to beat going forward. Like I said, I think this game will be one-way traffic. I do think the Brumbies have a shot, but being in Argentina, that travel factor, how well the Jags are on their home track, I can only see this game going one way, really. The Brumbies like I said, put away a pretty lackluster Sharks team. The Jags had a really solid performance against, in my opinion, a pretty decent Chiefs team, and the Chiefs did have a good performance that game, but the Jags were just that much better. So just for all these factors, I think the Jags will come away with it quite easily in the end. So I've got the Jags by 17 going forward, which would put the men from Argentina into the final.
So that's what the guys think is going to happen. Interesting thoughts by them. But myself personally, here's my 2 cents, bro, for what's going to happen in this one. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the home side. The Jaguares, of course, going to this matchup. They looked impressive as the round robin come to an end. But I think in their quarterfinal matchup, they were well below par. A very good team, a good performance, but they are put under a bit of pressure by the Chiefs, not only on the ground, but on the scoreboard as well. Eventually, as we know, they pulled through very, very nicely. But now they've got to step it up against the Brumbies team, which I think is going to be a bit more of a different challenge. But you could say a bigger challenge as well, where they will get the advantage in the forwards, which is going to be where this game could be won and lost. The fact of the matter is, though, for the Brumbies, they can lay a platform, but if they can't make inroads through that Jaguares defence in the back line, they are going to struggle to put too many points on the board. How will the Jaguares defend this driving maul? Who will have the better of the back line? Personally, I think the Jaguares should tear them to pieces in the backs, but we didn't see a great performance from them in their quarterfinal. Those backline players need to step up. We didn't see much from Buffelli, who was amazing just 2 weeks ago, and the other guys, Cancelliere, Carreras, De La Fuente, Moroni, whoever plays, we don't actually know yet, but I mean, they're star-studded throughout that backline. Benicia needs a big game. He directed pretty well in the quarterfinal against the Chiefs, but he's got to step it up another gear now against the Brumbies. That's where their advantage is. It's in the backs. It's in that electric play. It's in that ability to create and to spark and keep it going into points. They've got the players to do it. They've got the excitement machines outside. Everything's there. The pieces are there. They just need to be on song. Of course, what's probably going to be the biggest factor of all is going to be the fact that they are playing at home. Home advantage. The Brumbies, yes, have had to travel. I don't know really if we can count travel too much now. The season's late. It's all on the line. There's no wait for next week because it will be impossibly be all over by then. So the Brumbies have got to really stick it out. The whole lot, the whole team, the whole game has to be at 100% by the Brumbies. The Jaguares, though, they've got to get those outside backs moving. They've got to get them in the game, and they've got to put the Brumbies on the back foot. Both teams in very good form, and as I said earlier, it is the Jaguares who won earlier on this season as well by 5 points. The Brumbies had a poor start, and that's when about they played them as well. So it all comes down to an intriguing matchup between the Jaguares and the Brumbies. Will we see an Argentinian representative in the final, or will it be, for a rare occasion, an Australian side getting the job done? We will find out, of course. This is a Saturday morning, Friday night game, depending on where you're living. It is sure to be a cracker, but a lot of this will depend, for me, in summary, on how this Jaguares backline performs. If they're at their peak, like they were in round 18, this should be a thrashing. I don't see how the Brumbies are going to keep them out of the game enough to build points. The Brumbies need possession, they need territory, they need penalties. That is going to decide this game. And if the Jaguares can run and they can get electric ball and electric pace outside that we know they can, they will run rampant here in Buenos Aires. So that is what I'm expecting from this one. Who do I think is going to win? Give it to me, the home team. The home team all the way, every day of the week. Can't wait for this, and I hope this is going to be a Jaguares first in the final to face who? The Crusaders and the Hurricanes. We'll talk about that in just a second. But my pick is going to be Jaguares by 5 to get the job done over the Brumbies. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be tight. But I'm expecting these experienced heads, these excitement machines on the outside backs to get the job done against the Brumbies, who are going to battle and toil all day long like we know they can. But it's going to be that excitement that gets the job done and their home crowd support. Okay, so we've got the Jaguares moving through to the grand final, and they will play either the Crusaders or the Hurricanes. So let's move on to that second match of the semi-finals. And this one, boy, it really has a lot on its plate, doesn't it? The Crusaders, they have been in phenomenal form this season, but they've shown glimpses of vulnerability throughout the year, a la Chiefs and Fiji. We'll never forget that game, will we? But this season, it has been all the Crusaders. They've beaten the Hurricanes twice this year, 32-8 and 38-22. So they like those 30-pointers, don't they? and it depends how the defence shows up as to whether they'll let the Hurricanes get into this game. We'll take it over to the guys now and see what they think's going to happen. We'll mix it up this time. We'll give Brett the first ball, then we'll give it to old Taz, and the DrivingMaul will be coming last. Let's see what they think, and are they going for a big upset win for the Canes, or is it business as normal with the Crusaders looking to dominate their way to another grand final?
Going to the second game, definitely a much harder game to pick, in my opinion, the Crusaders and the Hurricanes. Both teams, amazing. Well, Hurricanes had definitely an amazing performance last week, putting away a firing Bulls team. I think the Bulls played superbly last week, and it just showed the Hurricanes' character to hold on to that game and hang on to it at the end, and put away the Bulls, who were definitely the best out of the South African teams this year, even though I picked them last on my conference preview. But we won't talk about that. The Crusaders definitely weren't at their best when they played the Highlanders. I think they were quite... lucky's not the word, because it was a deserved yellow card to the Highlanders. Maybe could have been a penalty, but in terms of how the rules are going lately, it was probably a yellow card 9 times out of 10. So, and then they really used that space of 10 minutes to really pile up the points against the Highlanders and truly put them out of the game, and they just sealed it from there. So they definitely weren't at their best, but they were still a really good team. And the Crusaders at their best are just a really, really, really dangerous team. At home, they're just one of the ultimate rugby teams, really. Their forwards are really dominant. They've got really shifty backs. And then obviously all at the middle of the field is Richie Mo'unga, who really drives his team forward. I think ultimately it'll come down to the battle between definitely the two men competing for that All Black 10 jersey, Broden Barrett, Richie Mo'unga. That'll be definitely a big battle. Bodie's kicking was pretty decent against the Bulls last week, which is really good signs for the Hurricanes, because that's definitely the worst aspect of his game. So if he can really pick up his kicking, that's definitely the way to beat the Crusaders when your kicking's on point. So the Hurricanes need to come up, all engines ready to go, ready for definitely a kicking game, because the Crusaders do tend to lock up a bit when they go up against the Hurricanes. They tend to have their number in that matchup. The Crusaders can really go between that territorial game and that running game quite easily, and they've got the number 10 Richie Mo'unga, who can play both quite easily. So the Hurricanes should prepare for both game plans. If it's wet underfoot, definitely the Crusaders will lock up like they usually tend to do. And I think it'll be a tough physical games for the Canes. It's pretty much the Hurricanes' really solid backline versus the Crusaders' really solid forwards. The Hurricanes' backline, in my opinion, is definitely the best backline in the competition. They're just absolutely star-studded, and obviously you got Adi Savia there, who's sort of an honorary back for them as well when he has ball in hand. Definitely be a cracker of a game. But I think the Crusaders will be too good, like they've shown throughout their whole history. I think definitely home semi-final. I think they'll get this, but it'll be a close game. I've got Crusaders by 5, so they'll put the Crusaders hosting a final against the Jags next week.
And the next game, quickly, I reckon, with the New Zealand pack against probably half of the New Zealand backs in the Canes team. It's going to be a ding-dong. It's going to be brilliant. Can't wait to watch it. And unfortunately for me, I can't see the Canes winning, because somehow the Crusaders just find ways to win. And I reckon there's just quick gift picks. I reckon the Crusaders to win by 8. So it's going to be Brumbies Crusaders in the final in my eyes. So let's just see what happens. And good luck to everyone.
So we have a rematch of the semi-final from last season, where obviously Mo'unga had that big game against Broden Barrett, and everyone's like, Mo'unga should be picked for the All Blacks, and we're going to have something similar again, aren't we? Let's be honest. The same kind of outcry. And we'll see what happens there. But this is a game where I think we're going to really need players like Adi Savea, Broden Barrett, TJ Piranara, Lau Mapi, all to really stand up. I mean, having Emmanuel Jensen out there in that outside centre position is a bit of a weakness. So he can get caught out positionally. Will Rayasi be on, because is Houston going to be fit in time? And again, he got caught out defensively as well. So those two are going to really need to be get their defence sorted out, especially as they're next to each other in that line, aren't they? So expect the Crusaders to target that out wide on that left wing if Rayasi is out there. That's where I think they're going to go through. But whereas the Hurricanes, they really need to take it up the guts, get Laumapi running into Ryan Crotty early doors, and then then flood that channel, I feel, and get TJ on a supporting line at pace. I mean, he is, I think, the second highest try scorer in Super Rugby now, chasing down the old record. So yeah, he has got to be 120 odd caps, only 27. The guy is absolutely class. For the Crusaders, it's going to be about the machine. I mean, look, 7 of their forwards are going to be All Blacks, and then again, it's pretty much an All Black sort of back line as well around it. Okay, there's a couple of players out wide who aren't All Blacks yet, but everyone thinks they should be. And the only sort of weak link is that kind of those scrum halves, but they're both decent as well. So it's the overall machine, I think, from the Crusaders that is going to try and wear down the Highlanders team, and we're going to look at moments of magic from the Highlanders. At the end of the day, you've got to say Crusaders by 10.
Homegrown advantage has been a massive part of this playoff series, hasn't it? We've seen through the quarterfinals, the teams at home really did have that upper hand over their visiting rivals. And I think the semi-finals will be no different either. The Crusaders at home, and they're looking to go the home sweep through the playoffs as well. If they win this one, they will host the Jaguares at home, and I think that is exactly what's going to happen. We've got weaknesses in midfield, and we've got weaknesses on the outside backs for the Hurricanes. The fact there's no Wes Hoosen will most likely see Rayasi start on the wing, which means there's always that little, just a defensive lapse that could possibly happen. Attackingly, he's very, very good, but can he stand up to what the Crusaders will constantly throw at them from guys like Bridge, from guys like Sever Reese, and whoever they got playing fullback, Braden Nenor, of course, another fantastic talent they'll have either in midfield or on the wings. They've got players to just burn and talent throughout, and they're not only the wings, but I think the midfield partnership as well. Laumapi and Umanga Jensen it was in the quarterfinal. Will they line up with that again? We already seen that Umanga Jensen can be a bit of a weak point for teams to attack through, and we've seen that against the Bulls in the quarterfinal as well. So that'll be something the Crusaders will be waiting on. They'll be waiting to see who they pick and where they position them, and they'll have certain areas they will want to attack. When you've got a midfield combination with Crotty and Goodhue, outside backs like we talked about with Sever Reese, Brandon Nenor, George Bridge, David Havili, it is just star-studded. There is no weakness unless those guys have a shocker. I can't see this going any other way. Of course, we don't even talk about the pack, but it is an all-black pack versus an almost all-black pack, if you will. Guys like Artie Savia are going to be massive, but more so, how about the battle in the number 10 jumper? Richie Mo'unga versus Bowden Barrett. That is one that is going to be worth watching as well. I'm also intrigued to see how Perenara goes up against the likes of Bryn Hall as well. Because I think Bryn Hall is and both the Crusaders scrum halves have actually stepped up very, very well over the last couple of seasons. So that's going to be massive to see how that battle goes. Who will get that advantage in the halves, but who can draw the best out of the outside backs? You know, Richie Mo'unga doesn't actually have to draw too much out of his outside backs because they've done it all season. They know what to do, and they really just have to continue on their game. It is probably the Hurricanes who have to force the issue a bit more and play in those inexperienced guys. That is going to be a big difference factor for me going into this one. I can't see it going any other way but a Crusaders victory. Is it going to be close? Yes, it certainly is. Is it going to be a blowout? No way in hell is it going to be a blowout. I've gone Jaguares by 5 in the opening match. I'm going very similar in the second semi-final. Crusaders by 6. Yeah, it's going to be less than a try in both these matches, which is going to mean excitement, and it's going to be fun for the viewers out there as well. Always a chance for the underdogs or the away side to pick up this victory. So it's going to be exciting, it's going to be fun. I hope you're all looking forward to this weekend's action of Super Rugby, semi-final action. Not a better way to go about it, is there? Who are you picking for this weekend's matchups. Let me know in the comments below. Do you agree, disagree with my thoughts and all the guys' thoughts as well that have been on the channel for this week's preview? Of course, a big thank you to Paul from the DrivingMaul, Taz and Brett Hartley as well. You can catch all those guys on Twitter. Their handles will be with their pictures as they're speaking, and you can check them out in the description as well if you want to go and say hi to those guys and give them a bit of stick for their selections. But from me, that is a big fond farewell, and thank you everyone for tuning in. I'll see you next week for the final show of 2019 Super Rugby preview. It is the big dance, the grand final. Hope to see you all there for that one. Enjoy the rugby this weekend as well. Don't forget to join and follow me on Twitter, because we have a lot of good banter going on throughout the weekends and throughout the weeks as well. Rugby related, sporting related, it's all heading your way as well. So come on there, have a chat, say hi, and be sure to get involved in the matches this weekend. I'll see you out there, but until next time, thanks for watching, and as always, take care.